We will call this March 19th Brown County Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Piker, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Morning.
First item on the agenda, we have the first reading of Ordinance 134, the camel rezone, and Ordinance 135, the remits rezone. Remits? Is that how it is? Remits?
I'll read these here. Ordinance 134, application has been made by Scott Campbell to the Brown County Board of Commissioners for a change of zoning. Hearing to be held in the Commission Chambers Courthouse Annex, Brown County, South Dakota, on March 19, 2019, at 8:45 a.m. for the purpose of rezoning the following property from Chapter 4.17 Conservation District to Chapter 4.10 Lakefront Residential District. The physical address is 37574 104th Street. And then for Ordinance 135, an application has been made by Richard Rimitz to the Brown County Board of Commissioners for a change of zoning. Hearing to be held in the Commission Chambers Courthouse Annex, Brown County, South Dakota, on March 19, 2019, at 8:45 a.m. for the purpose of rezoning the following property from Chapter 4.6 Agricultural Preservation District to Chapter 4.7 Mini Agricultural District. And the physical address is 10255 393rd Avenue.
Do you have photos of those?
Yes. I have more if you guys all want a copy.
Sorry, you want them individually, or?
Yeah, these are probably sent out with the original notice.
I'll move the first one.
Second.
Second the first one.
The Campbell one.
Moved by Weiss, second by Sutton to approve the first reading of Ordinance 134. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll move the second one,
Second.
Remits, or however you say it.
Moved by Fikert, second by Kipley to authorize the first reading of Ordinance 135. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is that accurate? We got about 4 minutes each worth.
Yes.
Don't assume anything. Go ahead.
We have the general meeting minutes from March 12th.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Fikert to approve the general minutes from March 12th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claims and payroll.
So the one with all the asterisks, does that mean everything's matching now? On the one sheet payroll, on the bottom it said matches sundial.
Yeah, you can
Everything's
see
spot on?
that it matched in the bottom there too. I
Okay.
highlighted which ones matched each other.
Okay, so
Yeah.
no issues that we've noticed? Looks good.
Nope, yeah, we were able to have everything adjusted to match. So.
Awesome. I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Sutton to approve the claims and payroll. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
HR report.
Move.
Second. Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to approve the HR report.
Is
All
it
in
the same as
favor?
it was last night? No changes this morning?
No, there wasn't.
The only thing, Gary just wrote in Ernest's name because it was left out.
Oh, okay.
Right. Travel, Scott, Peter.
Fair contract.
All in favor, well, okay. All fair contracts.
We gotta,
Authorized to sign.
we gotta say aye on
Oh.
the, I interrupted you.
All in favor of approving the HR report?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Authorized to sign the fair contract?
Yes.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Sutton to authorize chair to sign the fair contracts. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorize advertising bid for weed and pest chemicals.
So moved. Moved by Fikert, second by Weiss to authorize advertising bids for weed and pest chemicals. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
With a liquor license for Mansfield Bar and Grill. It's on sale and packaged liquor.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Fikert.
That's enthusiasm.
To approve the liquor license for
You're excited
Mansfield
about
Bar and
weed
Grill.
pest, I'm excited about
All in
liquor.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And we have the lease for the
Move.
expo building.
Second.
Is that
Moved by-
part of the old?
The
No, that's the
Bolorama.
Bolorama. Okay.
Motion by Sutton, second by Weiss to authorize chair sign the lease. for-
Kurt doesn't have any problems with that. I know with, in the past,
with the ground conditions, you know, he was worried about that. Has he voiced any opinion to anybody regarding bringing the semis with the late spring? Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Same problem here. Yep.
And that's everything that I have.
Okay, next item on the agenda, we have Derek Ritchie, Fair Manager, Fair Board Member Appointments.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
In case you don't have one.
Well, they're just thick paper. I did the same thing.
Yeah, I bought the wrong paper at home on the printer, so. Wanted to formally request seating of two new Fair Board members, Suzanne Mullen out of Stratford and Seth Duncan out of Groton. They would be first-term members, have not served before. We have gone through a vetting process with them and gone over the requirements, responsibilities, and duties of the Fair Board position, and they have agreed to accept. We'll be looking for a motion to confirm them.
I'll move to accept their Fair Board appointments.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss, to approve the Fair Board appointments of Susan Mullen and Seth Duncan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks
Does that bring you current on your members, or are you still short members?
We're short two, but there's some folks that we're looking at, and then there's also some other volunteer programs to expand. So we've historically run either at or slightly below the max 25, which is why we had to change the ordinance 2 years ago, I believe it was, because we had been non-compliant with that for a couple of years now. So, but definitely above the 17 that we were running within 15, so that's a good sign.
Tickets are on sale online?
They are. We're about 28% ahead, same time last year, but it's only about a 5% of the total overall revenue, so we're cautiously optimistic. So, but the sales are tracking better than they did last year.
Trending the right way. Good.
Is there something announced for Sunday?
We're still in the process of evaluating that. There's a couple of factors that go into that. The concert is historically subsidized Sunday by a significant amount, so there's also a challenge with removing the dirt, and then people having to return on Monday. So we're working through the committee on that to see what could we do that would not lose a ton of money, but still also not keep them there till 11 o'clock midnight sometimes. So still a work in progress, but we'll hope to have something, and if not, we'll come out with a formal press release as to why and what some of the reasonings are.
Very good.
Okay.
Anything else, or Derek?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Derek.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
We have our agenda items done. We have Kathy's stuff. Gary, do you have anything?
I guess we should talk a little bit about what you want to do for last Thursday for the closing of the courthouse. For the union agreement, I know last May we kind of decided you probably weren't going to try and close anymore, but things happened and
Well, I don't think Thursday was any way to get anybody into the
No.
courthouse. It just wasn't a good situation.
So I think what makes the most sense is we probably just go with what was in the union contract from before, where they'll get paid a half-day administrative leave and then use either one half-day vacation or sick for the rest of the day, if that works for all of you. And then the ones that would have to be here would get their one half-day of vacation time, the ones that were required to be here.
Now, is there a duplicate in our policy anywhere where there's a different side of that? Or is that what we're following, is the union both ways? It seems like we have this conflict of this is union and this is the other one, and I get...
Right. Well, yeah, what you passed in the regular policy last May was that they would take a vacation or sick if for some reason. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy there, but when you were thinking that you probably wouldn't be closing anymore, it seemed to make sense. So, but we can work on that on the union side too. That negotiation's coming up in a couple weeks, so.
Seems like the simplest thing to do is just do
For this
Like-
time,
right.
it seems to make sense that we just go with this.
Follow the union for consistency.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Is that for all employees or just union employees?
All.
All employees?
Yeah.
And that's probably something we
It's
probably
too
need
hard to
to...
break out
Yeah, no,
the
I agree.
payroll, doing different things for
Right.
different employees.
Yep. Well, what we should have, if that's what we're gonna do is follow union, we should put it the other side
Yeah.
also to make it uniform.
Or change the
Right.
union one or
Right.
the other. We'll work on that here coming up.
Because you always have phone calls with the two different conflicts. Well, it says this, well,
Sounds good.
it's just confusing. So it's time to probably make that uniform.
Yeah, the current county policy for the non-union employees took an email chain of 6 lawyers in my office to figure it out. Seriously, everybody was going back and forth interpreting it. It was a mess.
Isn't that what attorneys do?
Yeah, but it shouldn't have been that difficult. I can just tell you, it was very confusing to everybody.
Sure.
Sounds good. And I don't know if you wanted to go into exec to talk about the welfare position more or not.
I don't know, is every, don't even know what to talk about. Welfare position, do we want to go into exec and discuss personnel, or do we just want to?
Are we just acting with an interim right now, and is that the plan?
If that's what you choose to do.
And it's working.
Because that announcement hasn't been made yet, so you gotta...
I think you probably go into exec to discuss personnel on that specifically, though.
For just a moment.
For a moment at least.
I'll move exec for personnel.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss, go into exec for personnel. Is there anything else besides personnel? Chris?
We shouldn't be long.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, it'd be personnel only. We are in exec, we're out of exec. I would entertain a motion to approve Roxy Hilgenberg as the interim welfare director for up to 6 months.
I'll move it. Second.
Moved by Piker, second by Sutton,
At the agreed on salary.
and agreed on salary of $49,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is anybody else have anything to come before the commission? We're gonna have a little work study
I do.
at this, oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wanted to give you guys a heads up, I had forwarded a copy of the minutes from the Hecla City Council meeting from last week.
Yep.
The council was approached by us, we were talking about that dumpster. They took a vote and they want to just keep it where it is, 4-1 is how that vote went. And, you know, yeah, it would be nice to move it out of there and get a little more space, but I guess the cheapest, less divisive thing to do is just keep it as is and keep rolling, and then we got to decide what to do with those that 2 double lots there, because that's now in county ownership, so.
Hard to fight City Hall.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, getting on far back, it takes a little space, but it's not going to cost us anything, we just leave it there, so.
It's not a fight worth getting into, you know, if that's what they want, just leave it. They said they want. Yep.
So I don't know what other properties we have, but I think we need to get that other on the tax roll then.
Well, has there been an issue lately as far as where the dump site is located in Hecla? I mean,
It had been by a couple vocal folks that didn't like it, but they moved it to the other side of our lot, and that helped a little bit, and now the council's
Just have
good
to tell
with
them
it.
to talk to the city council.
With that.
Just tell them to talk to the Hecla
Yeah,
City
that's what we can
Council.
do now, is we got it on their minutes, that's their recommendation, so.
Yeah.
So then the 2 lots, the county actually has possession of those, we actually own those.
Yep.
So at this time, it's determined whether we put them up for auction, or I guess the particulars, like we own them, can we just advertise them, or what?
Yeah, the same way you always sell property.
Scheduled for an auction.
Yep.
Do we have another one coming up? Or is this it? Wasn't there
We
another?
just took one over on...
Mid-February, yeah.
That won't be ready for
And
the
you
last.
gotta decide, yeah, what direction you wanna go with it, but
How long does it, like normally, from the point we took that to when it's
you
ready?
gotta wait 180 days
Half a year?
regardless, but
If we have the property in Hecla, is that something that we can just advertise if we own it, put it out for sealed bids?
Do we get that through tax deed?
Yes.
Yeah.
'Cause it's already established in Brown County, do we have to actually go through the motion of hiring an attorney to sell it for us if we own it?
No.
So we could put that
I
out
don't
on...
know the title search, if it's all free and clear.
Did they decide on the trailer then too? Is that guy moving or?
Well, I think whenever we put it up for sale, I think they'll be putting an aggressive bid on it. But I just think it'd be better to do it quicker rather than later. And don't let it sit
They
idle.
always sell it the same way. Notice it.
You could just go ahead and schedule it and do it. Put it up and let it go.
That's no different than the sealed bid. I suppose you could do that, but you still notice it. You might not get any sealed bid.
Yeah, I think you just go ahead and schedule it. The title ownership was pretty clear on it, so.
Do you have to take an action on that next week before we do it? Or?
Probably would, but
Yeah,
I'd probably have
and I'll
a
get
date.
the timeline together on that.
Thank you very much.
One other clarification on the position, you want that effective next Monday to start a payroll? Start of the
That would make sense.
Yep.
Okay.
My other thing I wanted to mention is I did send out an email about that RFP that the state's offering for the JDI, the alternatives,
Oh.
and how we want to craft that. So that stakeholder group of community leaders will be kind of meeting and seeing where we should go with that or what proposal they want to bring to you guys, because ultimately this is the board that will decide what we do. Thank you.
Are you working with Eric and NECOG about that too?
With what?
Eric from NECOG?
Not a lot, but we've got a huge stakeholder group from every
Okay.
other entity in Aberdeen that deals with the kids, so.
Okay. But when it comes to grant writing and stuff, they're good to have
Get
around
them,
too.
sure, sounds good.
I just want to publicly thank the highway department, first responders, the township people, basically any and all volunteers that helped dig people out over the last week. There was a lot of cooperation and very much appreciated by a lot of people, so thank you everyone that stepped up and volunteered and did whatever was necessary to get people out and safe.
A lot of patience by the public. It was
Yeah.
an unusual event.
Yep.
Anybody else going to the Missouri River meeting on Thursday?
I'm not going to be able to be there. That's Thursday night, right?
Yeah.
The Lakeside?
Yeah.
You're the only one who signed up, so.
Okay, just checking.
I'm gonna try to make it.
Oh, are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So I just put it down for travel, so.
And it'll depend upon how many heifers are trying to calve. How many broken legs yesterday, we took one out to the vet and had the leg fixed, broken leg.
Yeah, decided to calve in April yet.
Too much mud.
Next item, or I guess we're going to have a little commission discussion as far as the moving of offices from the Millen Building over to the courthouse. Ideas how that's going to set. There will be no votes today, it's just some think tanking going on and how we should make this look and where we're going to set everything up. I'm open for ideas. I realize everybody's probably got an idea that has to move, but
You want to take 5 minutes to
Yeah, in case somebody
call
comes.
everybody and see if they can come an hour early?
Quick recess. Gary had sent an email out to those
Okay.
people at 10:30, but
Because I assume that, yeah, the meeting probably be running the normal
maybe take a
time.
quick recess
but-
and
Yeah,
then.
tell them you made a mistake, it was supposed to be 9:30.
Yeah, not a problem.
okay, we will go into recess and
Well, while we're here, we have Carl here. We appreciate you coming. Maybe just a little free-for-all conversation about Carl's experience with his first legislative session, if he's interested in visiting with us about that.
Well, the whole thing is an interesting process, and you guys saw the hemp bill was defeated by the governor, but it was passed. You learn a lot as you go through this, but it goes through a committee, it's passed, then it goes to the House and it's passed, goes to the Senate committee, it's passed, then the Senate is passed, then it gets to the governor, it fails, then it comes back, and the House passed it again, and the Senate did not pass it by 3 votes, and so it is killed for now. And so that was one of the ones that hit the news, but there were a lot of more important things out there. Chris was down there, Mr. White was down there on a couple occasions, and he gave testimony to improve juvenile justice for our kids, and I think he got caught into the budget bandsaw, and so we improved nursing home coverage by 10% this year, We improved CSP, which is Community Service Providers, by 6.5%. Both of those numbers are tremendous compared to what they used to be. I think on Community Service Providers, the highest they've ever went is 3 or 3.5%, so that's a pretty sizable increase. And on nursing homes, I think they've got as high as 4 or 5% before, so again, that's a pretty tremendous increase. But the one thing that there is there's several needs and there's only one budget, so it only goes so far. But it's been an interesting experience. I'd be willing to answer any questions you have. I will tell you that I have a bill that's on the governor's desk right now, and that is on vaping. I'm not sure if you're aware of vaping, but vaping is a real serious offense. It's happening in our schools. The second district of principals met over in Watertown, 25 or 30 of them, and their biggest issue that day was vaping. And they said it's just a serious problem. I talked to Becky Guffin here in Aberdeen with the Aberdeen Public School System. She said it is a major problem. She says 2 years ago she said it wouldn't even have been on my agenda, and she says now it's one of our most critical issues. And then I talked to, I think it's Tim Wentz or something like that, and I apologize for not getting his name right, but he's with the principal of Roncalli system, the parochial system. And I said, is it causing a problem in the parochial system? And he says, you would think we wouldn't have those kind of problems, but he says it's severe, and he says it's a major problem. He says anything you can do would be helpful. Went and got my bill to the Health and Human Services, and I was told that it cannot pass no matter what happens because it had taxes on it. We said no new taxes. And I said, well, this isn't really a new tax because this is, the vaping product is considered a tobacco product. It's a tax that we haven't been initiating. And they said, no, it's a new tax. So anyway, I was told my bill was going to fail. But we ended up making 5 different amendments on it throughout the course of the whole process. And it was on its last dying leg several times, but it made it through. And what we did was the vaping product is now considered the same thing as a tobacco product from the standpoint of the Clean Air Act. So if you can't smoke in this building or smoke in this office or whatever, you can't vape in here. And there's a lot of people that are really enthused about that because vaping is not as big of an issue as smoking. Smoking, has like 7,000 carcinogenics in a cigarette, but these vapors will take the nicotine, and 1 nicotine vape is equal to 5 cigarettes as far as the nicotine content. So it's a serious thing, and the thing about it is these kids have it around their neck. It's like a UBC cord for a phone, and you just like this, and then they blow it into their sweater, and it's strawberry and bubble gum and watermelon and vanilla, and so it's not offensive. So you think, geez, the boys in the bathroom, they're using strawberries to keep the expression there, and that's not exactly what they're doing in the bathrooms. And so it's a problem, and this is a first step toward curtailing some of the problem. It isn't doing exactly what we want it to do, but it's it's at least a step in the right direction. So.
What committees were you on?
Health and Human Services, and so that's a committee that listens to solar, wind, you name it, anything to do with energy. The PUC's there a lot, and then the other one was the Health and Human Services. So Health and Human Services and Commerce and Energy, and then I also was on retirement law. So all the people in Aberdeen, we have $23 million, I think, is the number that we're giving out each year in retirement benefits at this point. So it's a big thing.
Commissioner Sutton's proposal got some conversation, some consideration for any surplus potentially going back.
When you're asking, even if you're, when you're supplying you're taking a problem, and the problem is bridges, and you're saying, okay, with bridges, we have a solution, and it's not going to cost any money. Dwayne and the county commissioners were actually the brainchild of this, and Al Nostrup and I were the primes on it, and basically we brought it to the legislative process, and it stayed on the Senate side through the whole thing. It lived on the Senate side, died on the Senate side, so it's not my fault. Anyway,
Takes time.
but it's one of those things where they should have looked at it a little bit different, because what we were doing is we were not taking excess funds because the 10% is set aside. We were taking funds that are excess of the excess funds, and so let's just say that the budget was $1.7 billion. The excess funds would be 10%, which would be $170 million. Well, if there was $178 million, $8 million would be the excess of the excess, and we were taking 25% of the excess of the excess. And so we thought that was a reasonable thing to do, because then we wouldn't be taking new funds, we'd be using funds that are existing, so.
Have you got any ideas, Carl, as to how, I mean, I spent 8 years out there, Dwayne spent 8 years out there, how do you educate the legislators in regards to the responsibilities that the county commissioners actually have? I mean, you can go all the way from the responsibilities in the sheriff's office to the responsibilities of the state's attorney to the highway programs to the bridges and all of those. How do you educate those legislators out there that this is important, this is a very important government entity, and that, I mean, the municipalities do fantastic out there. Counties just absolutely have no clout, and I don't know what it is. It's sort of like it's just taken for granted that the counties have got nothing to complain about. They got it made, and I don't know. I don't understand it. Very, very frustrating to me in 8 years serving in the legislature as a legislator as to how uninformed the people that serve in the legislature in regards to what responsibilities the counties have got.
That's one of the reasons that I'm here today, Dennis, is I want to make sure that like last night I was at the city council meeting, and today I'm here at this, and the reason I'm here is not to provide input, but to listen to what you have to say, because I can't know what's going on in the county if I'm not listening to what's going on in the county. And like Chris with the state's attorney issues, if you're not listening to what those issues are on a regular basis, then how do you carry those over? I would probably suggest that we have training sessions for the legislative people, and it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have the county come in and explain, this is what a county does, this is how they operate, this is what a township does.
But that's what we hire an executive director for.
Yeah.
I mean, he's supposed to be doing that, and I mean, it's not happening.
I think this is just my perspective from Brown County, because I can tell you we're lucky to have the representation we have as far as they come and meet with us. I think Carl and Al and
we've had Caleb
was there, and I think Drew was there at times. We sat down, at least Carl and Al sat down in my office on this juvenile bill probably half a dozen times when they had other stuff they could be doing. But they sat down, they listened to us, they really take what we say back to peer. And I mean, Al, as this juvenile bill was working through, there was a bunch of different compromises that the governor's office was trying to compromise with our side on it, and Al basically said, I got to check with my state's attorney. And I appreciate that Al takes that position, because at the end of the day, he could have done whatever he wanted. He didn't have to listen to me or take any of my suggestions. So what I was going to say is, when I go to my state's attorney board meetings, not all state's attorneys have the representation we have, where they can sit down and they get listened to, and I think we're lucky to have the group we have. But I think what needs to happen is sheriffs, county commissioners, state's attorneys, all of the elected officials, and some of even the department heads need to stay on their representation. Come in, invite them in to meet with you, go through all of the county problems you have, because it's going to hold those representatives more accountable. And then frankly, if the other way to hold them accountable is through elections. I mean, a lot of them don't understand how much the counties are getting slammed with all of this juvenile justice and adult criminal justice reform stuff. Senate Bill 70, this is just the stuff on my end we're getting slammed with. Our jails are jammed up, and no one will dispute, it's because of those issues. No one will dispute it. But through this juvenile bill, they come out with this fiscal note, the LRC for the state comes out with this fiscal note that says it's going to be over $7 million if you change this juvenile law that we wanted to change. Well, that's $7 million that the county's paying right now.
Mm-hmm.
But no one seemed to really care about that other than the yes votes. And the yes votes were because we got to get this burden off the county. Everybody said it. I also had half a dozen to a dozen other representatives tell me they're voting yes because of that, and then 24 hours later they flip for whatever reason.
Yeah, see, that's the part I
But
don't
that's the
understand.
frustrating thing. They need to be held accountable, and the way to start that is our county representatives have got to start sitting down and really hammering away with these issues. I think we do pretty well with our representatives here, but statewide it needs to happen. It's frustrating.
Which comes to shove when you're there, your first responsibility is to make sure that the states balance their budget. And so it's like, okay, yes, that's a problem, but we're not going to take that back because...
You know, I served down there where there were
It's
actually, of the 105 legislators, there were 10 of us that were past county commissioners, and it didn't seem to make any difference. I mean, granted, I agree totally, Chris, with what you said, but you have to have every, the legislators then have got to tell that story to the rest of the legislators, and those legislators have to have the support from the local community, just like you explained, and for some reason that connection's not there.
A lot of the representation, the legislators seem more, they're representing the governor's office more than they are some of their local constituents, and that's a problem. That's a big problem, but it's because the governor's office has so many more resources than us. I mean, for me to take a day to go up to Pier, it can wreak havoc in my office, and that's what I always tell the other state's attorneys when I speak to them at a state's attorneys conference is it's part of our job to go up there and fix some of these laws that are slamming our counties. And we need to be able to do it more often. We all have other full-time jobs that aren't in Pier. But the lobbying that goes on there, the last couple days on our bill when it was +2, -2 our vote, was absurd. Just absolutely absurd, but it wasn't on our side, it was on the other side because they just have so many resources.
And you and I visited about that briefly, Carl, about the lobbying that goes on when you're actually a legislator there.
I appreciate your questions. We have, one of the things that happens is we have 500 or 600 bills that come at you, and there's nobody that can know about all 500 or 600 bills, and all of them don't come through just the House side. Part of them go through the Senate side, so there might be 100 bills that we never ever even see, ever. And there's 100 bills that they never ever see, ever. And so you ask Al about Bill X, and he has no clue because he hasn't ever seen it. But there's just tons of things out there like that we, that we work on. That it's not easy to get them all involved. So
Patience and persistence, and you can't stop because everybody else keeps going.
But it's interesting. I'm glad that you asked the questions. I'm glad I was here to be able to answer them. I want to be a resource for you. That's really what I want. I'm going to try to vote with you where I can. I'll give you one more example, but then I got a 9:30 appointment I got to go to. But this on the pheasant habitat, the bill for $1 million that the governor wanted to have approved. I voted for that 5 times or 4 times because it was approved and it was reconsidered. It was kind of approved, reconsidered, but it was finally considered and it was approved. But basically they're going to take $1 million and they're going to give the money to our farmers to do pheasant habitat. And they're looking at the farmers' areas of their land that's not as productive. They're not looking to take quality cropland. They're looking for, you have 420 acres and you got 20 acres that's just kind of poop 8 acres. It's just not that good. They want to make it so that it's really a good pheasant habitat, and they want to make it so that it's protected for the eggs and things like that. And then they also have a predator bill that's going to make a difference too. But I voted for that not because I like to see us spend money, but because I really believe that when we take care of our pheasants, we take care of tourism. Tourism brings in dollars, dollars brings in sales tax brings in revenue, you know, it's just a good thing for us. And the other part of that is if we have more people coming into our state, that's better. South Dakota is known for their pheasant population. I just thought there was a lot of good reasons to support it, so I was part of that. So.
Well, you know, one of the struggles that the county's commissioners and the director of equalization and all parts of county government struggle with is the fact that we operate on property tax, and we get about 20 to 22% of the property tax that are actually paid, and the schools are getting anywhere from 60 to 70% of those property tax dollars. So technically, not that I'm opposed or against sales tax revenue, but the fact of the matter is that doesn't really, that $1 million isn't going to help every farmer out there as much as some type of property tax relief. And how that's going to come about is, you know, short. I think it's got to be in the making here relatively quickly with the crisis out there in the farm economy, or there's going to be sales tax revenue is already affected by the fact that the farmers are struggling out there. So, you know, I have nothing against ways to generate more sales tax revenue, but let's look at what's happening to property tax too and the load that the counties take on that.
There was a bill that was passed with property tax to improve property tax monies. It was taking money from unfortunately there's 500 bills there, but there's one of the bills that is taking money from unclaimed property, and a portion of that is going to property tax relief now. And that went through the process, and I think the governor signed off on it. But I'm not 100% sure because it followed after it left the House, but it did go through the House. But there is a lot. Well, I hate to leave you guys, but I got somebody I'm meeting at 9:30.
Well, thank you, Carl. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Thanks for your service. Good.
Save all your hard questions. I'll try to answer them. See you guys.
Take care.
Thank you, Carl.
Chris, if we have just a general meeting, do we have to record it? If we're just open forum type thing, we don't necessarily have
You
to.
don't have to record any of your meetings.
No, let's just shut it off.
Can we
The
should
news
adjourn though,
stays.
shouldn't we?
Well,
Yeah.
we can turn it back on and adjourn. I don't think we can adjourn and be together.
No, I wouldn't adjourn.
Just shut it off.
Okay. On. Okay, we had our discussion about space available for our departments that move to the courthouse. No decisions have been made, but we threw some ideas out. Is there anything else to come before the commission? Sure.
Hi, Doug. I just wanted to mention load limits. I would assume the way it's looking this week we're fine, but I'm thinking the middle of next week. And the other thing is I think you're going to see some extremely swift deterioration in the gravel. I don't know. I can't really tell off the looking at the road. Normally you can drive around and tell when the stuff's coming out. Right now you can't see half of them. So, but so I don't know if you guys are still in session or whatever.
Yes, we are.
I will contact Shannon and Adam and let them know. So if you could give permission today to put them on when we see fit, we'll give as much warning, but I'm just taking a stab at looking at the temperatures. I would say Wednesday, Thursday, preferably before the end of next week, we would put them on. Not this week, I'm talking a week from now.
You're talking the 26th, 27th, 28th in there somewhere,
Yeah.
possibly?
I'm hoping that we can hold off as long as possible.
And next Wednesday, it's supposed to start getting 48 for highs.
Yeah, right now the lows are staying below freezing at night, so we're probably okay here for a little while, and keep your fingers crossed. I'm sorry, but we don't want 55 degrees right now or we're going to have a mess, so everything under the circumstances is favorable right now, but you know how that is.
Well, there's a lot of snow up awful tight against a lot of the shoulders of the road, and that water's going in.
It's going to go right in the road.
Going to go right into the road bed,
Yep.
and there's going to be a lot of road issues
It'll
this
get
spring.
soft if it gets warm.
Yep, so.
You think it actually, when are you thinking the load limits might go on, the 25th?
Well, like a week from, what is today, Tuesday,
Okay.
say next
Next
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
something like that. I'm at the, I don't know if we got Kathy my travel request or not. I'm going to the
Yes.
short course next week, so I'll be available, you can call me all week, but, I won't be in the office. If you got an immediate issue, just call Kendall directly, and then he'll call me and go, "These commissioners won't leave me alone." No, I'm just kidding.
So then, do we need a motion to give Dirk the authority to
I don't think
possibly...
this week.
Yeah.
Put it on the agenda for next week, short fuse.
I mean, I think you're free to do it when you need to, but I don't think we should do a motion.
Good.
Put it on the agenda for next week.
And I'm not sure how that works. I think after the state law is after the 15th of February. It's kind of funny, because 2 years ago, we would have had load limits on for a month, right, as of right now. So, that was a popular deal, too. We got really warm, and then it froze again, and then, so, yeah.
We had a late winter this year.
We're down to about 7 spots that are still blocked. Hopefully, between today and tomorrow, we'll get them completely open. I'm pretty sure everybody can get out. They might not be able to get out the way they want to get out. So the goal is, we got, like I said, 5, 7 spots. We're going to hopefully have open either today or tomorrow, and then we'll take to widening out the spots. But people call and say, "Geez, your road's terrible. I only got a 1-lane road." So did 250 other miles in the county. I mean, there's just a lot of spots right now that aren't ideal. We'll keep hammering away at it. We'll just keep going. So hopefully everything will be back open, and then we'll start widening stuff out and this and that. Despite your guys' activity from Elm Lake over the weekend, big picture, when I'm sitting back and looking how the public's reacted, other than pushing snow in the right of way, which has just multiplied our problems, overall, I think they've been pretty decent. It pains me to say that, but it's been pretty reasonable about the situation. In the coming weeks, we're going to have a discussion about snow removal equipment. We've certainly identified the weak spots in our snow removal fleet, and so we're going to have to address some snow blower things going forward, but I'll come in with some kind of a plan that won't break the county in order to do that, so don't sweat it. We'll come up with something reasonable, but we got to update the snow blowers, because when you break them, it takes a month to get the parts, and that does us absolutely no good. So we've been down, 2 of our snow blowers have been down, and it's just a matter of trying to find gearboxes for a 78 Oshkosh twin-engine drive. Is just about impossible. So it's just, we got to get something where we got a fighting chance of calling RDO or Butler or whomever and finding the part, you know what I mean? So we'll update things. And okay, all right, I'll quit rambling.
Well, you got to start calling, museums for antique equipment.
Yep. There's a few resources. Fort Pierre has a nice company.
You're supposed to have all that stuff on the shelf in case you need it, that gearbox, an extra one.
You got plenty of shelf stuff, so. Anyway, it was mentioned earlier before you were here that, the commission as a whole and us individually appreciate the dedication of your staff and the long hours that they put in, and the difficulty, and, they get their own issues to deal with, but, that's part of the job, but putting in the hours it takes in order to address a severe situation like this was, and this was.
The next thing you'll deal with is people calling and hollering about the roads being broke up, and it'll be...
Or underwater.
Or here and there underwater, or whatever.
Well, it's a sequence. The only frustrating thing is the big picture things are where you get frustrated. Because we just spent 5 years, and I'm not delusional. It was 5 very good years, very conducive to making some ground, and we kind of got things where we're turning the corner. I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, I feel like Charlie Brown kicking a football, just about there, and they're going to yank the football out. But so that's a little frustrating. The big picture part of it. Yeah,
I like the forecast for the next 10 days. This is what we need to see right now.
We got lucky there, but anyway, just keep communicating. I don't do the best job of communicating back, but when we have an event like that, it's just sort of scrambled eggs. We got to plow our way out. You got to explain to people, why can't we be first? Well, we got to drive the friggin' plow up there to start. We can't start on that end and come back. So. But we also are going to do a pretty thorough evaluation, because the existing way that we do things goes back to Russ Pedal. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not wrong, or that it's not anything wrong with it, but we do need to kind of look and go, okay, we got 16 snow routes. Do we need to tweak this up? Should we have 18 routes, which I don't really want to go up? That adds more equipment, adds more people. But is there a more efficient approach? Can we hire contractors to get... Like the east side of the county, Road 21 going over to Day County, those folks are never going to be the first people plowed out ever. if we could base a piece of equipment in Groton, whether it's us, whether it's a contractor, so they're leaving out of Groton at 5 in the morning, and I'm just picking, I live in Groton, but I'm just using that as an example, because we got a bunch of dead
Or
ends.
Frederick or anything else.
Right.
Frederick's the same way. Heckler and Claremont, we got guys there.
I knew that someday that this would come back, because I was on the commission when I mean, there used to be a blade or motor grader in Warner.
Yeah.
And a guy there lived there. And I mean, all these small communities, this is a prime example of a year. And I mean, how are you going to pick that year when it's important that you're out there? And those people out there pay taxes too.
Oh, yeah. No, and I get it, but the challenge with that, if I could ever have an employee, if I had a guy drop in off the moon that was well qualified and trustworthy, and we're going to give him a $340,000 piece of equipment and a $100,000 shop out in Fernie and go, I'm on board for that. I mean, if I had somebody move here that's going to live in Stratford and we can rent a shed from somebody and have a piece of equipment there,
And we still got a motor grader at Claremont?
Yep, Claremont.
Who's running it up there?
Claremont?
Yeah.
Brian Owens does.
Okay. Does he
So
live up there?
No, see, that's another stretch. Now, in addition to that, we have an employee that lives in Claremont, and because of that, we also have a plow truck based out of there for the first time in my recollection. We had 2 pieces that left out of Claremont. Another thing, this is me just brainstorming the other day, Brian Owens lives at Mina. Can we tweak stuff so we have a blade at Edmonds County's Mina shop, so he drives from his house a mile down and then drives a mile over to the county and gets in the blade and starts blading stuff coming this way from the west side. So are there pieces of that we can hack off and maybe change how we attack that? I think what's happened is we've gotten so accustomed to this guy's taking care of this when he gravels, and this guy's taking care of this, and this guy's taking care of this, that we kind of got locked into that instead of thinking, why don't we try to maximize? Already got a guy living out on that side of the county. Why the hell are we having him drive 12 miles into Aberdeen and then 20 miles up to Claremont getting a blade? Now, we started
In a blizzard.
In a blizzard. We started him out an hour and a half sooner, but, I mean, there's things like that, you know, you don't find the stuff out until you get the 60-mile-an-hour wind.
Well, then when you get 5 years of relatively no winter,
Right.
it just gets you into
Well,
those
you start positioning those
predicaments, too.
resources, and you don't really need them positioned that way until you get this one event, because if you're out there and it's 2 or 3 inches every time you run the blade across, and it's fine.
Right. And that's fine. So, and maybe that's what it is. Okay, all right, we're to this, now we've reached this threshold. From now on, Owens, you're doing this, you're coming out of there, you guys are coming out of there, and we're going to have a contractor doing, I'm pointing the wrong way, but doing the east side of the county.
Different incidents.
So there's some things like that.
And I'm sure you're aware of where your really tough spots were at this point in time.
Right in front of your
Well,
house. Right.
But improved equipment, like you said, you're
Yeah.
running old snowblowers. If you've got improved equipment, cuts down on your time, and also those blowers, you know where you need to have them now, and where the spots were the worst.
Right, so like, to your point about 3 weeks ago, we leave a blower up at Frederick. He just goes out of Frederick. Now, unfortunately, we don't leave a guy up there to spend the night in Frederick. It'd be nice if we could ever get things that way again, but, and someday we will. Maybe we'll get to the point when, say, Darrell Lloyd retires, we're gonna advertise that you gotta live in Hecla, obviously. We're not gonna try to cover that on average. You guys are already yawning about talking about the basement, so I'll leave now. But anyway, that's just a few comments about the snow thing, and we'll be having a conversation about some changes we're gonna do.
Thanks, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Anything else coming before the commission?
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weeks to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.